This is the worst job market we have seen since the Great Recession. That is not an opinion, that is a fact. And one of the reasons is because the hiring rate is down to 3.2%. That's right, just 3.2%. One of the lowest rates we have seen since 2013, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So what does this mean for you if you are navigating the stock market, navigating the economy, and obviously navigating the job market? What is going on here and what are some things that you can do? Let's go ahead and break it down. I've got four and a half things that you absolutely do need to consider. I'm going to start with the most obvious one, the one I've been yelling about the most, and then kind of work our way through. Let's go ahead and break it down. The first one here, and again, it's going to start obvious and get a little more nuanced as we go, is the one I've been yelling about the most. It is save more money. However, it's not in the way that you think. Yeah, everybody can save more money. Duh. However, the thing here is most financial recommendations have been saying forever, say 3 to 6 months. That's what people have been saying. I disagree. I disagree strongly for several reasons, especially now. The reason as to why it was 3 to 6 months is because you don't want to have too much money in savings and forego what could have been in the stock market, especially in a year like 2025. To this point, the market is at all-time highs. For example, if you got, $80,000 sitting in cash and you only need 20, you got $60,000 that could have been growing at, 15% or something. That's an amazing compounding interest rate that you left on the table in a boring savings account, not making you nearly enough money. You played yourself. You would have played yourself. Except that, again, this is one of the worst labor markets. And having that money in cash is one of the greatest assets that you can have. The reason why is twofold. Number one, for obvious reasons, having that cash, A, allows you to continue to pay your bills if you were separated from work, either voluntarily or involuntarily. So that's number one. Number two, it allows your assets, your stocks, inside your 401k, inside a Roth IRA or anywhere else, to continue to grow, which means that you don't have to pay any taxes if you withdraw, which means that you don't have to pay a penalty because you don't need to, because you have enough cash. Ta-da, right? Now, the reason why that is important is because, yeah, you don't have to do all the penalties and the taxes, you keep the money invested. The biggest thing that we forget, that most people forget, is the key to investing is not interrupting your investments. There are so many people that I know who invested in Bitcoin in 2018 or 2017 who would have thousands of dollars today, except that they ran into an emergency and had to use the money for something. That's really it. Or they got scared and pulled the money out. If they had enough in cash, they wouldn't have looked at the Bitcoin to begin with. It wouldn't have mattered to them because I've got so much money in my savings here. Who cares about what the Bitcoin is doing? Or who cares about what's happening in my investing account today because I have so much in savings right now? You see what I'm saying here? You want to have enough there so that you don't have to spin through it so quickly. And more importantly, when it comes to the job market, what used to be 4 to 6 months to find a job is now getting closer to 9. So if you only have 6 months as a max in your savings account, but it takes 9 months to find a job, if you're lucky, you won't have to start withdrawing from your investments, which is not exactly what you want to do. So what I'm starting to recommend and really starting to see is you might want to work up to 12 to 18 months. Now, for some people, I understand that sounds like a lot, and it is. And that is going to take some work to build up to an amount such as that. I understand. And I understand by doing so, you are taking money off of the table that could have been invested. I understand that. However, if you can do that, understand the security that you are giving yourself. You are saying, should something happen to my income, all of my expenses, my regular expenses, not, anything super, super crazy. But my expenses can be covered for for a year to a year and a half. That gives you a lot of time, a lot of security, and should the market be up, your investments can stay untouched for up to 18 months. That's a lot of security and safety. It's a lot of security and safety. So consider it. I'm not saying that you can stuff your savings up to a year immediately. And you don't have to go up to that amount. I'm just saying you should especially consider when the number of job postings aren't high, when 1 in 5 job postings from legitimate companies aren't even real, right? 1 in 5, that's 20%, y'all, are ghost jobs. And for example, it happened to me, right? When I was laid off earlier this year, they reposted my job. Wild, right? About 5 to 6 months or so. Within 5 to 6 weeks after, I'm like, why y'all, what? Y'all gave me a raise. I had great reviews, you gave me a raise, and then you posted my job. I would have foregone the raise and just stayed. That don't make no sense. All to find out, because, I networked, I had friends. People text me like, hey, yeah, that job they never hired for that job. It wasn't real, right? That's a ghost job. That tells you how crazy this job market is. And for example, I pulled this stat as well. The 3-month average for job creation is 29,000 this year, right? 3-month average compared to last year was 168,000. That's how many jobs we're adding. 29,000 compared to 168,000. 2025 compared to 2024. It's a different type of market. So you definitely want to boost your cash savings to that 12 to 18 mark right now. Like that's number one. And that's going to be your biggest asset I see for this economy in this era right now. Number two, if you have a job, you've likely heard of job hugging. If you don't have one, you've probably just heard the term job hugging. This is the polar opposite of job hopping, where in 2021, there were more jobs than people, right? Meaning the labor market was so tight that people were saying, look, if you leave your job within a year, you leave within 9 months, you can get a $25,000 or even $50,000 pay raise by leaving, because people were looking to hire that badly because of the labor shortage. Not anymore. And people are holding on to those jobs for dear life. My thought here is you might want to hang on to that job unless you have an offer in hand from another employer. Now, here is the key. 2 things you want to look for from your current employer and the next one. I would advise you to pay attention to any mergers and acquisitions. I would say look for probably the last 2 to 3 years. Okay, what do I mean by that? Usually when a company merges with another or is purchased by another company, there is going to be some measure of layoffs somewhere within the company, and it's not always immediate. Sometimes there's a year delay, sometimes it's 18 months or so. So just be aware of that. If your new employer did a merger within the last year, be aware of that. I'm not telling you to not take it because of that. I'm not telling you to take it because of that. If your current employer did a merger before you got there within a year or 18 months, just be aware of that and pay attention to it, because you could be hired, things could be great. Next thing you know, it could be you. And that's actually what did happen to me. I didn't know it, didn't pay attention to it. They had got acquired like 2 or 3 months before I got hired, and I was there for almost 2.5 years and was totally fine. And that was almost pretty much the case with me. I was hired about 2 or 3 months before the company did their whole merger stuff. Wasn't really paying attention. Got the job, was there for 2.5 years. However, within year 1, they did that first merger purge, right? And got rid of a whole lot of people. And that was their first layoff ever. Now, I didn't get laid off that first one, and everything was fine for me until it wasn't, right? And that's, again, not a common or not an uncommon thing. For example, look at the whole thing that happened when Elon Musk bought Twitter and let off a bunch of people. It happens often, All right, it happens often. It's not something that is rare. And that's just because you take one company, you buy another one, and you have usually two of the same types of people in certain departments, right? If you have a person who's over HR from company A and then company B, it's like, well, do I need both of y'all for the same thing? In some cases, they say no, right? And then they start to cut certain people. And it doesn't mean they cut all the people in all the departments, or in your department, they may not do that at all. So just beware of those situations. And again, having more cash allows you to be more resilient to those particular scenarios should they happen to you. Number 3, you definitely want to network and use your connections. Now, anytime I say networking, maybe it's just me and maybe I'm internalizing it, but a lot of people, or projecting, I think is the word I'm looking for, feel it has to be transactional, and it doesn't. Okay, it should be more natural. And there are ways to do that. You can be a part of an alumni group if you are in like a fraternity or a sorority or something like that. That may be another way. Another good way to make it more natural than transactional is if you set up a mentoring relationship in your current organization. Sometimes they do this, or not. Or some alumni associations will do this too. It's like, hey, you are a senior person in accounting or engineering. How did you get there? Let's meet once a quarter just to talk about, work stuff and how you built your career. And they can help you to navigate from point A to point B, and knowing and understanding the people who you work with and around and getting to know those people. And as those people transition from that first workplace to the next one is also important. Like, stay in contact with the people that you like from your job, because they can be important for the next job. And I'm not saying you have to be friendly with everybody, but it helps, right? Being likable does help. Now, I can't help everybody's personality and all that type of stuff. Now, again, you may see me on camera. I don't know why people assume this, but there's nobody else in this room. I'm actually introverted in person. It is what it is. I can speak on stage. I can do this. I don't like parties. I don't like a whole bunch of people. I just don't. That's just not me. But right, you do need to put time in. I don't know. It just takes me a long time to warm up to people. But when I do, right, we're usually a very good group, right? Or we usually have a very strong bond with whoever I am around or have to work with. And we usually stay friends and stay connected well after that. And that does help me whenever, right? So I leave and I go to this place, or they leave and they go to that place. And if I'm like, hey, what's it like over there? Y'all got to open it over there? What'd it be like? And that can be helpful should that time arise, but only if y'all were cool to begin with, right? And it was a genuine connection to begin with, not I only talk to you because I need something, right? That's transactional. That's not cool, right? I've got friends from work, which, we may go out to play golf, right? Or we'll talk about our kids and send pictures of the kids because we're actually friends, right? Or that's what it should be. But you want to build, again, genuine connections, and as they move, they may be able to help you, and vice versa. But again, networking is going to be extremely important. It's also a way to combat AI, because you sending your resume to another AI chatbot, that's not going to work. That's not going to work, okay? But getting in and saying, hey, here's my resume, you go walk it to the actual hiring manager. That's how you are going to get the phone call, versus just applying to the website. That's not going to work in 2025, and it may not work beyond this either. Now, the next thing here on number 4 is one you absolutely want to pay attention to, or at least avoid, and that's the scam piece. Telling you to avoid a scam sounds easy, right? It sounds like, yeah, sure, Grandpa, you should avoid that. You probably shouldn't click that link. And all that sounds well and good, except the fact that millions of people don't do it. Even still, the thing here is, when you are in a vulnerable spot, should you lose your job or something like that, or money runs real low or gets real thin and you need an answer now, you are more likely to skip over the details. If you are looking for an interview and you get somebody to slide in your LinkedIn DMs, you get somebody to randomly text you a job offer or something similar to it, or an interview, and you're like, oh, this is what I've been looking for, and you click the wrong link, or you show up and they ask you for a social security number, you've been had. You've been hoodwinked. You have been bamboozled. Don't do that. Okay? Don't do that. What you should do, though, is go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Other than that, though, you don't want to give people any of that type of information for an interview. That is not a thing. There is a rise in job scams right now because scammers know what the job market is. They are paying attention to these headlines, and notice there was a whole lot of crypto scams when crypto was crazy. There's a whole lot of job scams when the job market is wild. So be very careful and be vigilant for stuff like this. So be extremely careful, network where you can, and most importantly, save, because notice how having more cash, and honestly, having more money can solve a whole lot of stuff. That is an unfortunate situation. However, having that security, though, can allow you to take more time on these applications. It allows you to perhaps ride out this entire wave until the market gets better, and not be in certain situations where you are instantly applying for things and not paying attention and falling into a scam, and just give you more resolve as you are going through it. But be very careful as you're going through it. Take these tips, see what works, and take care of yourself in times like this. If you want to know other tips and things that you may want to know about this particular economy, you want to check out this video right here.